So good people over at Bleacher Report
Oh
made
boy.
I made an article talking about trade targets for every NBA team, which, I thought it was like a pretty good, like kind of just an idea. So for the Detroit Pistons, they had these three players, Sean, and we can kind of talk about them individually. So Trey Murphy from the New Orleans Pelicans, Michael Porter Jr. Don't put a podcast mic in front of Michael Porter Jr. and Lauri Markkanen. So I don't know which player you want to start with first, but I'll let you do it since you're the guest on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we can start with Michael Porter Jr. because that one's really easy. We can just go, no. Um, he just doesn't fit what this team's about. Doesn't fit if you're talking about getting the right people in the locker room. I don't even think it's about the content of what he said. I mean, if you threw in the content of what he said, that probably would disqualify him too. But the fact that he could potentially even be a distraction at all like that, I just don't think they would want that. To me, that's like a pretty easy. I just don't see it. Um, Now the Trey Murphy name, that's the one that makes my ears perk up a little bit because you have New Orleans having a bit of a sideways season, things not going well. You have a team that pretty clearly wants to start heading towards a rebuild around Derek Queen, around Jeremiah Fears, about around like some of these intriguing prospects that they have, and in being realistic, they're not going to get the assets that they want to rebuild by just trading Zion Williamson. That's going to be an Andre Drummond level return where it's like, okay, we're just getting him off our books. Whereas with someone like a Trey Murphy, that's someone that could potentially command some assets and be a really interesting player, and it's someone that we've talked about for a long time as someone that fits the mold. Oh yeah, and he also was a Trajan in New Orleans, so just a lot of those make a ton of sense. And quite frankly, based off of all reports, it would cost infinitely less than going to get Lauri Markkanen, who's the third player on this list, which we've talked before about how great of a player Lauri Markkanen is. He's awesome. Like if we're just in a vacuum, going and getting a basketball player without worrying about what the returns are, yeah, go get that guy. He's great. However, makes a lot of money. He is 28, like almost 30. So you wonder how much longer this run is gonna go on for as far as this level of play. And quite frankly, I know I personally don't want anything to do with trading with Danny Ainge. So I imagine I'm not the only one on that.
Yeah. Michael Porter Jr., I agree with you. And it has nothing to do with his basketball skill. I think he's a very skilled basketball player. I think offensively, he's probably what a lot of Pistons fans are looking at for like just secondary, third option.
Uh-huh.
The guy can score the basketball. I think the reason why I would probably be out on Michael Porter Jr. is I don't
He's a
know him.
moron.
I don't know him personally. I don't. I think that he would be a very big distraction in a Pistons locker room. I don't really think that you hear JB and Trajan talk about good character, culture setters. I don't really know if he fits the bill of that's a Detroit Piston. Does the talent outweigh the distraction? I don't think so. I know the Nets owner basically told him no more podcast.
Yeah. From what I heard with his time in Denver, the one of the phrases that someone told me was it was apparent right away he didn't need a microphone. And also the way, like the vibe of like the way that it was, just kind of described to me. It almost just kind of felt like Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh, where it was like once he got out of the walls of a stable organization, you can just kind of start to see some of the other stuff leak out. And this isn't an Antonio Brown level talent or like producer on, like this isn't that level of comparison from NFL to NBA. So
Yeah, I mean, I like him as a basketball player. I just think I don't really know if the talent outweighs the possible headache that could come. I don't know for a fact if you put him in this Detroit Pistons locker room, if the antics would still be the antics that he's having in Brooklyn. And obviously, like, you could kind of contextualize being on a rebuilding team, not having a really good team. You might act a certain type of way, but I think he's talented. Brooklyn could probably get a haul for him personally if they really want to just ship him and continue to stockpile draft picks. Their last draft was puzzling to me. I don't know why you draft 5 guards and you only play one of them. It's the wildest thing.
Yeah, quite literally the throwing darts at a board and seeing what sticks method. Never seen it in professional sports before.
Yeah, no, it's weird. So, second guy on that list was Trey Murphy. I think Trey Murphy to me is very appealing because he does play small forward, but I think the way the NBA is trending, he could definitely be a stretch four. Maybe not every night, but I think he would fit on this team really well. Obviously, you look at the contract he has. His contract, I think, is probably the best out of everyone on this list. He doesn't make an absurd amount of money whatsoever. It's honestly puzzling, like, what he's actually under contract.
I forgot, by the way, I forgot how bad things were in New Orleans this year.
Mhm.
You know what their record is off the top of your head?
Do they have 5 wins or no?
No,
No?
they're 3-20.
Shit.
They haven't won a basketball game. Okay, they won November 24th. That's better when I thought it was going to be. But they went about they won November 4th and 5th, and they went almost 3 weeks without winning a basketball game. So even looking at some of the stats, and I know people have been worried about some of the production and some of the dips from Trey Murphy. I would wager he's one of those guys that he just needs to get into a competitive environment again. I think he's one of those guys who he needs to feel something as a competitor again.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that's a Trajan draft pick as well.
Yeah.
We have former Detroit Pistons executives in the front office now, in Joe Dumars and in Troy Weaver. I know how probably trade conversations would go. Troy would probably want Isaiah Stewart back. That's not going to happen. I don't really know what New Orleans is looking to do.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, we know one thing about Troy Weaver. We know he likes reacquiring assets and players that he likes. I wouldn't be surprised if he would want to give Jaden Ivey a set, a fresh start and a place to try and reboot his career. I know they already have Jeremiah Fears. I know they already have Jordan Poole. That hasn't stopped Troy Weaver from massively overstocking at a position before. But it's one of those things where there's a lot of things there where, like you said, relationally, there's already ties. There's already been transactions that have been made between the two teams in the past. And it's just, when you talk about the type of player that he just fits what the bill of what they're looking for, it's Trey Murphy to me.
Not to mention, we need 3-point shooting this year desperately. We're not the same perimeter shooting team we were last year. And it's so evident. Duncan Robinson being back these past 2 games, you can just see the gravity that he kind of gets defensively from opposing teams. And it opens up so much for the Pistons. Getting another caliber shooter like a Trey Murphy, I think, is a no-brainer. I just think it's probably going to cost you a couple draft picks, which I would be completely fine with because I think he's a type of player that he can grow with Cade Cunningham. Someone had mentioned it in the live chat that as soon as he saw Cade Cunningham and Trey Murphy work out together in a summer run together, he kind of see the chemistry and what it could possibly look like. I would love a Trey Murphy on this team. I've always been a fan of his from afar. I'm sure Trajan would love to have one of his guys back in Detroit as well. And it's kind of funny. He has not actually brought in any of his guys that he's drafted in New Orleans yet.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine if there was a guy that he would want to bring in, I think Trey Murphy would be kind of the top of the list.
Yeah, Trey Murphy or Herb Jones, I think, are probably the 2 that he would probably try to target.
I mean, Fred Vinson worked pretty well with Trey Murphy in his time in New Orleans.
Yeah, that too. Herb Jones. I feel like Herb Jones is just going to be a Laker. I feel it. I feel it in my core.
Yeah, I mean, Herb Jones, that's one that's hard to predict, but it's I know that, again, like if there are guys from New Orleans, I think they would go out and get. It would probably be those two guys at the top of the list if I were to guess.
Someone on Facebook says that we need James Wiseman or Kevin Knox to sweeten the deal. You guys are trolls.
throw in Sadiq to sweeten it.
I forgot he was back in New Orleans. I did not know they only had 3 wins. That's crazy. I thought they at least had 5.
But dude,
I haven't been paying attention.
Oh, dude, and it's bad. Like if you go to their because like if you go to like Basketball Reference, they'll show you the game results as like kind of like the red and green bars of if they've won or lost. It's a lot of deep red bars that go very far down.
Bro, that's so sad. They fell off so hard. I saw earlier today, and we'll talk about Lauri Markkanen in a minute, that you could get into a Pelicans game on TickPick for free. The tickets were $0.
Yeah, like I like it is starting to get to a point where like it is getting uncomfortably real. The conversations about relocation are getting about New Orleans, like uncomfortably real. And it's crazy because you look back at the 2019 draft class and you look at when Memphis and New Orleans like both went 1 and 2 in that lottery. Like, do you remember like their New Orleans, like their season ticket line, like they sold out like that night. And like with Memphis, like their hype was very real too. And now, just 6 short years later, if you're having a conversation of who are the 2 most likely teams to be relocated in the NBA, it is New Orleans and Memphis in that same order.
I throw Dallas in there, but hey, that's just me. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. The owners there,
after the Cooper Flag thing, like if they took Cooper Flag with them to Vegas, I think Patrick Dumont legit might get like he might have to up his security. That's all I'll say to keep you monetized.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. That would be honestly funny, but yeah. Poor Pelicans. I didn't know it was going to be that bad. I see them definitely rebuilding. I mean, they even said like if we get a good offer for Zion, he's out the door. But I don't think so many teams are lining up for Zion Williamson outside of Charlotte, maybe. But I mean,
yeah. Patrick Dumont might want to be careful, otherwise they might be consuming their food through a straw.
Yeah. So the last guy the Bleacher Report mentioned was Lauri Markkanen. Now, we've talked about him, I think, multiple times over the last year or so. It sounds like there was actually internal conversations with the Pistons and the Jazz. Danny Ainge asked for Asar Thompson. It was reported by your buddy Jake Fisher, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's I hang up the phone. Like, all right, cool, click.
Yeah. If you remember, Danny Ainge tried to trade up with the Pistons at 5. Because I believe the Jazz had 2 draft picks that year. They really wanted Asar Thompson. They settled for Keontae George and Taylor Hendricks. So, I mean, there's always been appeal from Danny Ainge and Asar Thompson just with his defense. Utah doesn't really have a lockdown defender like an Asar Thompson on the roster. But I think for Lauri, the price is going to be very expensive to pry him away from Danny Ainge. And I don't really think you're going to hand over 3-4 draft picks and your best perimeter defender for Lauri Markkanen. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense when you're trying to build a team to eventually win a championship. I said last week, Sean, I think if the Pistons do make moves, it's very marginal and it's 3-point shooting. I mean, I told you and Eric, like some of the guys that I think they could target, like a Dante DiVincenzo, even though him and Ron kind of tried to choke each other out. I mean, him and Duncan kind of fought too. I mean, I feel like Dante and Ron would probably hug it out. That would be a 3-point shooter I'd love on the Detroit Pistons. And Minnesota's season is kind of going on a seesaw and teetering. You know, 1 week they're hot, next week they're not. So, I mean, and they need a point guard right now really desperately too.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams right now where things are not quite going as expected. And I definitely think, I think we're going to see trade conversations intensify quite a bit throughout the league. I just think, with a guy like Lauri, he's just one of those guys where the value is just never quite matched the reality to me. Again, I know he's playing awesome hoops right now. I know offensively he's piecing a lot of things together. He looks like an all-star, caliber player. He looks exactly like that type of player that you could slot in. I know he's played under JB. There's a lot of things that make sense. I just if until Utah has a different frame of mind about what that price is going to be, then that's just where we're at. That's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they even reported this week that they're trying to build around Lauri now that teams don't want to give them, 5, 6 draft picks for Lauri Markkanen. I mean, for crying out loud, John, he was trying to get 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler.
Right. It's like at that point, if you're not willing to like if you're just not willing to move off of them off of anything you've heard, like if you have a price that people just aren't willing to reach for, what's the point of trying to keep moving them? Like what's the point of keep having this conversation? So like I mean again like I think if there is like I definitely think Detroit is a team that makes sense if it's like a reasonable like trade package or a more like agreeable upon compensation package, but we just haven't heard that yet. It just keeps going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know you touched on Twitter about just the Pistons' lack thereof of three-point shooting. And how much they do rely on Duncan Robinson. And you touched on just like what he's been to this team and the presence and the signing that the Pistons had with him this year. But like, I honestly think though, like at this deadline, their needs this year is perimeter shooting.
Yeah.
I mentioned Dante DiVincenzo. Grayson Allen could be a fit. He reminds me of like a mini Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah.
Like, he could shoot threes. He might make an occasional dirty play. I feel
If
like
Bill
him
Laimbeer was a guard, it'd be Grayson Allen without a doubt.
and he's taken such a stride in his three-point shooting too. I don't think a lot of people realize what a good three-point shooter he's been over the past couple of seasons. Obviously, he's a different type of three-point shooter than Duncan Robinson, but I feel like he's a player that could really help this team out. I don't know how you feel about him.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he makes a lot of sense as well. I mean, anyone that just kind of fits that mold, like you said, of bringing additional shooting. I don't think they need to go get someone that's like a world beater as far as anything like that. Grayson Allen is like he is one of those guys where when the dirty plays aren't the conversation, like he the reason he's still in the league is because he's a legitimately good basketball player and especially when you look at like what he's done in Phoenix, like he's really raised his level of play quite considerably compared to where he has been. And he definitely fits that identity in that mold of like what Detroit's about. And I mean, Trajan, former Duke guy, so he definitely knows like what Grayson Allen's all about as far as like that regard goes. I want to do some more research and kind of like go team to team and just see, like what potential pieces could be available come the deadline because I do think we're going to start seeing some teams do some disgusting things to tank
Mhm.
and put themselves like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and I don't even think it's just to get the number one overall pick. I think teams are going to be fighting over each other to get into the top five, you know? So, I think you're going to see a lot of teams like go, hey, maybe this isn't our year. And maybe like it's like you said, maybe in Minnesota, maybe they recognize there's only so much we can do as far as continuing to hit our head on this wall of getting to the conference finals every year. Cause it's like, let's say they even just figure things out right now, as is with this group. Is there anything about what we've seen from them that says they could beat Houston, Denver, or OKC?
No, because like when Lauri's or when Lauri got Lauri Markkanen in the brain. When Rudy Gobert is off the court, they're a horrific defensive team.
Yep.
And I know they drafted a French prospect that I think in a few years he'll probably take over for Rudy Gobert, but I don't think he's ready right now. Only reason why I mentioned Dante DiVincenzo is because I know he can put the ball on the floor. I know he can shoot threes, play some defense, talk some shit. I think a lot of Pistons fans would really just kind of fall in love with the guy. I mean, there are other players that I've looked at, like Gary Trent, who we just saw tonight. I mean, he's a
Yep.
good 3 points marksman as well. He might be a pretty gettable kind of considering the Bucks. I mean, AJ Green. he killed the Pistons this week with his 3-point shooting. I mean, there's a lot of under the radar 3-point specialists that I think that the Pistons could target. I mean, Chicago doing Chicago things, they're being buyers.
Right.
I really,
they didn't want Malik Monk in the summer for what they could have gotten him. I wonder if that price has gone down quite considerably, seeing that they're not doing much better than New Orleans over in Sacramento right now.
yeah,
A lot of more deep red bars on Basketball Reference.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Monk actually does two things that you need. You need more playmaking and you need 3-point shooting.
Yep.
And I know that there were reports of the Pistons, being internally interested in Malik Monk and the whole Dennis Schroeder thing. And you have a trade exception as well, which I think more Pistons fans are probably going to be talking about over these next, 2 months. Like the Dennis Schroeder sign and trade, you got, 14 million of a TPE. So you can use that to, get trades. I don't know if they're going to use their full trade exception. They might use a little bit of it just to kind of even out the salary. But Malik Monk's an interesting name.
Can I float out another name?
Yeah.
What do you think of Coby White?
Love it.
Like, if you're able to bring in like $12 million expiring contract, he's averaging about 24 points a game right now. He's definitely someone where at the very least he'd be a rental. But he's, you're probably bringing him in with the desire of wanting to, like bring him into the fold long term. He's not even 26 yet. So, like, when you talk about like timeline, like fits a lot there. And I don't want to have this conversation tonight because I know we're probably going to be having it ad nauseum going forward. But I think you would have a lot more clarity with him as your 2 guard than another certain young Pistons guard at the moment.
Yeah, I talked about this last week, and a lot of Pistons fans got upset over it because you have Sasser, you have Ivy. What are you gonna do with Coby White? I was like, well, one of those guys is probably involved in the trade. So he's been a guard that I think has been underappreciated. And I thought once they traded Zach LaVine, he really started to put solid games together, like great games together. And Chicago, they have kind of like a 3-headed monster with their guards. They have Josh Giddey, they have Trey Jones, and they have Coby White. I don't know if they're willing to move on from him. I know Vinny Goodwill had touched on, him being a possible trade candidate with the Bulls, but the Bulls look like they want to be buyers and try to compete for that play-in tournament. They started off the season really red hot, but they've kind of come back down to earth. It's a team that reminds me so much of the very early Andre Drummond-led Pistons, where we were okay competing for 8 seeds every damn year. But I mean, they're buyers, man. Like I don't understand it whatsoever.
I mean, they they might think they're buyers right now, but like they just lost by almost 20 to the Pacers yesterday.
Yeah.
Like if things continue to head in this direction, and because the only way I could conceivably like see Chicago be buyers, like let's say they can somehow bring in Anthony Davis and get like bring the star home, right? And like make the Bulls interesting again. I don't even think that's as clad and set in stone, because once they threw in once they threw in Ryan Nembhard into the lineup and Anthony Davis has been back, Dallas is starting to look more competitive. And realistically speaking, if they keep winning games, they're losing their incentive to lose a whole lot of games too. So it's just gonna be like Chicago is just one of those situations where, like you said, if you're just operating upon logic, they would have blown things up years ago.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they almost won the lottery last year. They got hosed. Yeah. In the pre-lottery, they won it. And then I've never seen a lottery like last year. Like one team falling, sure. But Sean, there were so many teams that fell in that lottery last year.
It's crazy. If you go back and look statistically, like if Josh Giddey didn't hit that half-court shot against the Lakers to win like that crazy game, the Bulls get Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
Like a game winner that everyone was like hyped about in the moment. It's like, all right, cool. Imagine finding out that cost you Cade Cunningham. Like, imagine like the Pistons made a half court shot and that would have cost you Cade Cunningham.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, you're stuck with Jalen Green instead, or Evan
Evan
Mobley.
Mobley. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's no guarantee. Like
Right.
we have no idea.
Except for Chicago, it wasn't the difference between 1 and 2, like with Detroit. It was the difference of 1 and 13.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like the draft lottery last year was crazy.
Yeah.
This year's draft, I haven't really got too into it because we've been winning so much, but I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't even had to think about it.
I've been watching a lot of college basketball. I like the kid Boozer out of Duke. I think Peterson is going to go. Like if he goes to Atlanta with their pick, I think they trade Trae Young.
I mean, I think they should trade Trae Young anyway, based off of how they've been playing without him.
Yeah.
Like I think Jalen Johnson, like I think he's proven he's your franchise player. He just had his second triple double on 2 nights.
He had it at halftime.
Like what else does Atlanta need to see? Like that's your guy.
I know Grant Hill because he's a minority owner with the Hawks.
Yep.
He loves Jalen Johnson.
Yep. Speaking of potential mentors for Cade Cunningham, by the way.
Yeah, hey, you never know. But yeah, I mean, Atlanta has played a lot better with him out. I mean, Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been such a good fit for them. I don't even know where you would trade Trae Young to. I don't see a lot of teams.
Sacramento.
Do you hate the man?
No, I don't hate. I mean, I'm not a Trae Young truther. I'm just thinking of who, like, what team. I really, like, if like realistically, I know we've talked before offline. Like, I know Orlando is like always been like a really fun Trae Young concept. I feel like if you're looking at like other potential teams, like I feel like the Clippers are so desperate that any level of like star power, or like, even though that doesn't make any sense because they have James Harden, but like, I mean, the Clippers are going to clip at this point. It just feels like that's like Sacramento. They just need anything at this point to get people excited. Anything.
I know you're talking about the Clippers, and I actually started this comment from our guy Rocky because he's really funny, and I want to put it on the screen because it's just pure chaos. He said, "I'd very much like to see Zion go to the Clippers just for the drama, just for entertainment purposes."
Oh, if you want to talk about the drama, I want to see LaMelo go to the Clippers for the same reason. If you want to talk about like my petty ass, I want to see LaMelo go to the Clippers.
I honestly feel like we're going to see a lot of trades at this deadline, and the return on these stars are going to be like dirt. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not going to be high. It's not going to be multiple draft picks. It might be like players and like a second, like just a stash of second round picks, or maybe a very heavily protected first round pick. Like
I think there's a couple things like at play here. Like I was even listening to Ryan Windhorst like talk about like what the return for a Giannis trade would look like, and he's like he's even been saying like, just based off of what I've heard, it's not going to be like multiple stars and all these picks. Like I think you're seeing, based off of what's happening with the Clippers right now, based off of what the Thunder are doing, but then on top of that, just how strenuous and crazy this the salary system is. I think you're seeing more teams going, the most valuable commodity in the league right now is a first round pick. And so like we can't conceivably trade a lot of those. Like even Oklahoma City, like people are like, oh, well, why don't they just go and trade for Giannis and give up a lot of those picks? Like they could just, they could just become mega unstoppable. Well, the reality of like what makes those first round picks so dangerous for OKC in particular is they're going to be able to supplement all these guys that they're going to eventually have to let walk because they're just not going to be able to pay everybody because they keep getting all these awesome players. Like AJ Mitchell, for example, right now is like going off and being incredible for the Thunder. Let's say for whatever reason, like a team wants to pay him like 30 or 40 million a year. Oh no, they have 4 lottery picks next year to go and replace whoever they're going to lose.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had to look up where AJ Mitchell was drafted because, like, I'll be completely.
Oh yeah, I already saw this the other day. It's painful. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
Yep.
know. I'm not gonna say his name, but like, go look where AJ Mitchell was drafted
Oh, I'll
because
say it for you. It's okay. I'm okay with people hating me. He was drafted the pick after Bobby Klintman. The pick after Bobby Klintman was AJ Mitchell, which no disrespect to Bobby Klintman. That's just that this isn't a Bobby Klintman problem. This isn't blaming the Pistons. This just shows you like what a crapshoot the second round can be. But you go and look at that and it's like, man.
OKC, the way they draft players, like they had a lottery pick this year, and I remember watching the draft. They drafted this big, I believe, out of Georgia or Georgia Tech. I don't remember what college he went to. And I remember watching the draft, and everyone's just like, "Wow, really?" Like, I had this guy projected like 25 to 30, and he goes like lottery, right?
Yep.
And he, like, I believe, tore his ACL or had some kind of like surgery, and he's going to be out for the remainder of the year. And it's just like, OKC doesn't even need any more talent. Like, Nikola Topic, who was drafted in the lottery, he still hasn't played, and he's going through like procedures of like where he had testicular cancer, and it's just like they have so much talent, Sean. It almost gets to the point where like I'm listening to other podcasters, and they want to have something called the Presti rule, where teams can't have multiple draft picks like OKC because it's unfair.
That is insane. Like, I mean, that just speaks to just the level that he's operating at
Yeah.
in comparison to everyone else in regards to evaluation. But also it's like, you gotta wonder how many owners right now are just so pissed at Steve Ballmer in the Clippers. Just not only because of the fact that they just completely just allowed, Oklahoma City to just essentially build a dynasty off the backs of like one of the worst, if not the worst trade in the history of professional sports. But on top of that, you throw in all the unwanted attention that the Clippers are getting with this aspiration stuff.
Oh my God.
And like all these owners, like, do you have any idea the potential like doors you're opening here for investigation? Like all the owners are like, all the stuff that I have in my closet that could be dug up by Pablo Torre now.
Yeah, so I was just curious to see how many draft picks OKC has.
Too many.
So they have the Rockets pick this year, which is currently sitting at 26. So that'll probably be a late first.
Yep.
They have Philly's pick.
Yep.
Currently sitting at 19. And then you kind of go up. They have Utah's pick, but that is top 9 protected. Utah's currently sitting at 9.
Yeah, they're not getting that pick.
And then they have the Clippers pick that's sitting at 4.
I think like there's a very real chance that we are going to be sitting there on lottery day and the Oklahoma City Thunder at the very least have a top 3 pick.
Yeah, I mean,
like do not be shocked. Like if anything, like I know the Clippers, they might try and make a trade to save their season. Like who knows what they're going to do. I mean, they got rid of Chris Paul, which shows that they can literally do anything at this point, although they technically still have his contract under the books. So
weird.
Like they might be trying and like include him in whatever moves they make financially. But I just don't see, because it's like what's the piece that like what are the desirable assets that they have? There's only 2. It's James Harden, who like you're not getting much for like a 30-plus-year-old James Harden, who we saw yet again crap the bed in a game 7 last year. And then the other guy is Zubac, which no disrespect to Zubac, but if that's your best asset, then good God.
You know, it's funny. So I was scrolling the timeline this week, and I see these guys. They had a podcast about the Pistons. I could only take about 30 minutes of it, and I let them know like I didn't agree with their assessment of the team whatsoever. So this Nick reporter says, if I'm the Pistons, I would trade for James Harden and pair him next to Cade Cunningham. And it took everything in me because I wrote something really mean. I was like, you know what? I'll be civil. I said, I just disagree with everything he said. James Harden would be a disaster next to Cade Cunningham.
I just what there are so many things that come to mind, but I'll just say the most PG inappropriate one. I cannot think of a player that would be a worse pairing with JB Bickerstaff as a coach
Right.
than James Harden as a player, especially at this age. And you talk about like all the things that James Harden needs to succeed. Like even at this age, he still needs the ball in his hands pretty much at all times.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Which if you watch Cade Cunningham play basketball, you kind of want the ball in his hands a lot.
Yeah,
And not
I mean,
James Harden.
like I said, it took me about 30 minutes, and I'm watching this, and I was like, okay, I had to look up this guy. I was like, oh, he's a Knicks reporter. He just wants the Pistons to go away.
Yeah,
I got you. I got you. Sabotage.
You know what? Like just as like a sheer like basketball fan, agent of chaos. Like you know what would be my favorite Zubac team?
Who's that?
Boston.
Oh, that would make sense.
Like they need a big badly. He's someone that could come in, shore in as at the very least is just like a very reliable rim protector and as a really good rebounder. Like I know that they're not really in a position where like they're looking to win anything this year necessarily, but like don't look now. They're 14-9. Like they're right there with Orlando and Miami. Like they're better than Cleveland right now.
Yeah, I mean they have a good system. I think Zubac would fit in there as well because he's white. That team has I swear, man, they have the most white guys in the NBA. I've never I know you know it's true. Boston has so many white guys, and people in Boston be like, hey, he's white.
I mean, I can't say you're wrong. Like I can't, like historically speaking, I just can't dispute that argument.
I mean, look at Danny Ainge. He came from Boston. Look how many white guys he has in Utah. Perfect city for it.
Well, that's Utah. That's just like, they're just that's where it is, man.
Yeah. I know I'm wild in the night, man. It's
I was gonna say we might want to press the end live stream on before we get any deeper into before I get in trouble for talking about Utah.
So 2 white guys saying that Boston's a white city, we might get canceled for it.
Oh
I guess, man, we're prejudiced on our own skin color, I guess. I know he's European and he's not white. Like I know that, but I know some people probably they get my sense of humor, they get the joke. Other people might not find that funny, but
I did see someone say just because we were talking about Boston, I saw someone say, "What about Anfernee Simons?"
Yeah, I was gonna put that on the screen actually.
Yeah, he's one of those like Anfernee Simons is one of those guys where like offensively he can piece a lot of things together, but like he's kind of been struggling to consistently have a spot in Boston's rotation or like have like a defined role. And on top of that, statistically speaking, Anfernee Simons is one of the worst defensive players in basketball. I think he literally is statistically the worst defensive player in the NBA. At least he has been in years past.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's not a good defender, but if you're just talking about bucket getter,
oh for sure,
a guy that if you need a bucket in a moment, like I've seen that him just go for 45 on any given night. I think his role in Boston is really weird, and I think it's an adjustment period for him because he was starting a lot of games in Portland, and funny enough, Shaedon Sharpe is actually coming off the bench, and that's who Chauncey Billups was starting over Anfernee Simons, and now Thiago Splitter has him coming off the bench. But I like him as an offensive threat. I don't know if he would be a solution as a long-term two guard. I think the Pistons are still trying to puzzle that together because I don't even think they know who's going to be their long-term two guard and what the backcourt of the future may look like. I think a lot of people still have stock in Jaden Ivey. I would just say Jaden Ivey to me is actually a better defender than
Yeah.
Anfernee Simons, and that's not saying a whole lot because Jaden Ivey isn't really known for his defense. I mean, he hacks like a mofo
Yep.
still, but I mean, that could just be him, still rehabbing on that leg because I thought, last year he did show a little bit of progressions of at least staying in front of his opponent, but I wouldn't be opposed to Anfernee Simons. I think it's an intriguing piece. And I know when Boston, as soon as they traded for him, they're like, yeah, he's available if you want him. I was like, what?
I think he's in the Cam Thomas class of players where you can without a question see that he's good enough to be in this league. You can see that he is very good at putting the ball in the basket. Like there's no questioning that. But I think what is pretty clear, and I think what is hard to decipher is what it's like, okay, but what is their value? What
Right.
is their value really in this league? What is, because right now, let's say if Detroit were to trade for him, he currently Anfernee Simons, he's on an expiring deal, but his salary this year is 27 million, which you're not paying that entire 27 million salary, but you're figuring that into your salary cap. And so just for this season, that would be taking up a pretty significant chunk. So it's just one of those things where what is the market for an Anfernee Simons going forward? Does he even get to 10 million? I'm imagining he's probably not going to want a 100% pay cut.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's interesting. The Pistons could definitely use their trade exception, and you would only really have to, match $14 million of salary. And
Yeah.
if you wanted to do that for an expiring, I think there's ways that, Trajan Langdon and Michael Blackstone could kind of get a deal done there. But I think it's kind of in the right ballpark of the type of players that they might look to be targeting. I think they're just looking for playmakers and 3-point shooters because
Yep.
that's what they need right now. They desperately miss Dennis Schroeder. They
Yeah.
really do. They're still trying to figure out who's going to be the backup point guard. I mean, I don't know how many times this week I've seen Dennis Jenkins take a stab at it. Karis LeVert try to play point guard when it's not really his natural position. And then Jaden Ivey on a minute restriction tried to do it. I mean, I think JB's just trying to see who's going to be that backup point guard because I don't even think they know right now who's going to be
Yeah.
that. Come playoff times, who's going to be leading the second unit.
And unfortunately, it's Dennis Schroeder's it's almost kind of like the Jeremy Grant problem where it's
Yeah.
You miss him right away of what the impact that he brings. But unfortunately, the millisecond he signed his name on the dotted line for the amount of money that he got,
Yeah.
it became he can never come back. It's unfortunately, even with how I know things have not been going great for Dennis Schroeder in Sacramento. I mean, it's just been Sacramento's just a disaster in general. That's not even a Dennis Schroeder fault. It's just unfortunately unless things change, I just don't see a world where Dennis Schroeder just doesn't play out that contract in Sacramento.
Yeah, I mean, get the money while you can, man.
Yeah.
I don't blame them whatsoever for getting the bag in
Oh, I
Sacramento.
don't either. I don't think Sacramento is going to be able to move him. I think they are stuck together now because of that deal. And
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
mean,
this might be his last stop of his career.
yeah, no,
I hope I'm wrong. I hope
yeah,
I'm wrong.
I saw some reporting about the Pistons being in contact with the Kings about Dennis Schroeder, and I was like, that can't even work because you can't trade him to the Pistons because of the new CBA rules. He'd
Yep.
have to get rerouted to another team, and then you could trade for him. Which, good luck trying to find someone to take his contract because he signed
Yeah.
a pretty big deal. So when I saw that report, I was like, that kind of seems like baloney to me when I saw it.